Have you ever stopped to consider that the very society that claims to be building equality has quietly, systematically turned ordinary men into the most feared and regulated creatures on the planet? What if everything you've been told about power, privilege, and protection was designed not to lift women up, but to chain men down so tightly that even looking in the wrong direction can destroy a life? Stay with me until the very end, because by the time we're done here, you're going to see exactly why millions of men have finally had enough, why they're walking away in silence, and why the future for women who thought they could have it all without consequence is looking darker than anyone wants to admit. If you're getting value from this kind of no holds barred truth, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss another drop of real angry guy content. And listen, if you're tired of watching your wealth evaporate because you don't know how to navigate this insane crypto landscape, or if you simply want to learn how to protect what you've worked your ass off for, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. Everything you need to confidently buy, sell, trade, and safeguard your assets is waiting for you there. The link is in the description. Click it, enroll, and start building the financial fortress you deserve today. Let me take you back to a time that feels almost like a different world, because in many ways it was. Picture a man in his 20s or 30s, maybe even 40s, walking down the street, seeing an attractive woman, feeling that natural pull, that spark that has driven human connection since the beginning of time. He smiles, he approaches, he says something simple, something respectful, like, "Hey, I noticed you from across the room. You have an incredible energy. Mind if I buy you a coffee?" That's it. No aggression, no entitlement, just a man being a man, taking a small risk, because that's what men have always done. Now, fast forward to today. That same man doesn't even make eye contact. He keeps his headphones in, his gaze on the ground, his body language screaming, "Do not engage." And if you ask him why, if you somehow get him to open up in private, he'll tell you the truth that society has beaten into him. One wrong word, one misinterpreted glance, one accusation, true or false, can end his career, his reputation, his freedom, everything he spent decades building. We're not talking about predators here. We're talking about normal, decent men who simply woke up one day and realized the game is rigged so badly that playing at all is suicide. This didn't happen overnight. It was slow, deliberate, and wrapped in the prettiest language you can imagine. Words like safety, empowerment, believe women, toxic masculinity. It started with good intentions, maybe, or at least that's what they told us. Protect women from harassment, from violence, from the real monsters out there. Nobody decent argues with that. But somewhere along the line, the pendulum didn't just swing, it was ripped off its hinges and used as a battering ram against every single man breathing it in. Think about the workplace for a second. Remember when Mike Pence said he wouldn't have dinner alone with a woman who wasn't his wife? The media crucified him, called him a religious nut, said he was holding women back. But you know what he was really doing? He was protecting himself, because he understood something that most men have now learned the hard way. In today's environment, a single accusation from a woman, no evidence required, can destroy you. Your HR department doesn't care about innocence. They care about liability. You're gone before you even know what hit you. I've seen it happen to friends. Good men. One guy complimented a coworker's dress, said it looked nice on her. That was it. She went to HR and claimed it made her uncomfortable in her own skin. He was written up, moved to a different floor, and eventually left the company because the stigma never went away. Another friend gave a female colleague a ride home during a snowstorm. She thanked him profusely at the time. 6 months later, during a performance review cycle, where she was worried about her own position, she suddenly remembered that she felt pressured to get in the car. Investigation, suspension, reputation in tatters. He left the industry entirely. These aren't isolated stories. These are the new normal. And men are paying attention. Now, layer on the dating apps. Women hold all the power there. Hundreds, thousands of matches, endless options. Men are disposable. One slightly boring conversation and you're unmatched forever. But it's worse than that. Say the wrong thing, even in jest, and you can be reported, banned, and if she decides to take it further, doxxed or worse. So men stop messaging altogether. They delete the apps, they stop trying. Then you have the social rules that change by the day. Hold a door open. Some women love it. Some scream about patriarchy. Offer to pay for dinner. You're either a gentleman or a controlling misogynist, depending on her mood. Walk behind a woman at night and speed up to pass her. You're following her. Slow down and keep distance. You're creeping. There is literally no winning move except complete avoidance. And the legal system? Don't even get me started yet. We'll go deep on that later. But just know that family court, title nom campuses, domestic violence laws, all of it is weaponized to the point where getting involved with a woman romantically is the single highest financial and emotional risk most men will ever take in their lives. So what do men do when every natural instinct is criminalized? When every interaction carries life-ruining potential? When society tells them they're toxic just for existing as men? They opt out. They go quiet. They go home. They build lives that don't require female approval, female presence, or female chaos. This is men walking away. This is MWA, and it's not anger anymore. It's peace. It's the realization that solitude is infinitely preferable to walking through a minefield every single day just to have basic human connection. Let me paint a picture for you of what the average awakened man's life looks like now, because it's beautiful in its simplicity. He wakes up in an apartment or house that is his and his alone. No one screaming at him for leaving a coffee cup in the sink. No one questioning where he was or who he was talking to. No passive aggressive comments about his hobbies or his friends. He makes his coffee exactly how he likes it. He goes to the gym because he wants to, not to maintain attraction in a relationship that's already on life support. He works his job or builds his business with laser focus because 100% of his money stays in his pocket. No OnlyFans subscriptions he doesn't know about, no $600 hair appointments, no surprise credit card bills from shopping sprees he didn't approve. His free time is his. He plays video games without being called immature. He watches whatever he wants on TV without negotiations. He hangs out with his boys, real friends who've known him for decades, without being accused of emotional infidelity. He travels when and where he wants, eats steak 3 nights a week if he feels like it, and sleeps diagonally across the entire bed like a starfish, because why the hell not? There is no drama. There are no ultimatums. There are no 3 a.m. arguments about tone of voice or why he didn't text back fast enough. There is only peace deep, uninterrupted peace that most married men haven't felt in years. And the craziest part, he's not lonely. Not really. Because loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is being in a relationship where you're constantly walking on eggshells, where your own partner views you as a threat or a wallet, or both solitude is freedom. Now, I want you to really let this next part sink in, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Women are starting to feel the effects, and they are panicking. For decades, they were told they didn't need men. They were told career first, fun first, live your best life, ride the carousel, Focus on yourself. Men will always be there when you're ready. They were told that the top 10 to 20% of men would happily wife up a 35, 40, 45-year-old woman with a high body count, massive student debt, maybe a kid or two from previous relationships, and an attitude shaped by years of being worshipped by thirsty simps online. And now those top men aren't even in the game anymore. They're not on the apps. They're not in the bars. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. They're not approaching in public. They're not proposing. They're not risking it. The men who have options, the ones with money, looks, status, charisma, looked at the deal on the table and said, hard pass. Why buy the cow when getting the milk is illegal now anyway? Why sign up for a contract where she gets half or more of everything you own if she decides she's not happy in 10 years? Why risk false accusations that can take your kids, your freedom, your livelihood? So these men disappeared. They became ghosts. And the women who spent their prime years chasing tingles, chasing careers, chasing validation from Instagram likes are now staring at empty inboxes, empty bars, and empty futures. They're making TikToks crying about where have all the good men gone? They're writing articles about the paradox of choice and how too many options made them picky. They're blaming men for not stepping up. But the truth they refuse to say out loud is this: the good men didn't die. They didn't vanish into thin air. They looked at what was being offered and quietly, calmly walked away. And every day more joined them. This is only the beginning, brothers. We're barely getting started. By the time this video is over, you're going to see exactly how deep this rabbit hole goes, how irreversible this shift is, and why the next 20 years are going to be the loneliest, most regret-filled period in modern female history. Stick with me. They told women, have standards so high that no real man can ever meet them because you deserve a prince. They told women, sleep with whoever excites you in your 20s. The past is empowering. No decent man will ever judge. They told women, focus on the corporate ladder first. Kids can wait until 40. Science will fix fertility. They told women, marriage is just a piece of paper. Keep your own name, keep your own money, and if it stops being fun, walk away with half of his and call it justice. They told women, men are disposable utilities, wallets, emotional punching bags, sperm donors on demand. When you're ready to settle, just snap your fingers and the perfect high-value man will line up to wife you up, baggage and all. And for a little while, it looked like the lie was working. From roughly 2008 to 2019, the top 20% of men were still playing the game. They were still approaching, still simping, still paying for dates, still getting on one knee with rings that cost 3 months' salary while she already had 1 foot out the door. The apps rewarded female hypergamy on steroids. Instagram and OnlyFans turned average women into mini celebrities with 1,000 orbiters telling them every day they were queens. Divorce lawyers got richer. Therapists got richer. Cat food companies quietly started preparing for massive future demand. But something shifted around 2020. And it wasn't just a pandemic locking everyone inside with their thoughts. Men started doing the math, not the loud activists, not the red pill rage boys screaming on podcasts. No, the quiet ones, the engineers, the tradesmen, the mid-level managers, the guys who actually keep the world running. They sat down with spreadsheets and calculators and asked a very dangerous question. What exactly is the return on investment for pairing up in 2025 and beyond? And the numbers came back colder than a morgue slab. Lifetime expected cost of marriage and children with the average modern Western woman between 2.5 and $5 million when you factor in the house you'll never fully own, the cars in her name, the weddings, the divorces, the alimony, the child support that continues even when she denies visitation, the college funds, the therapy bills, all of it, probability of divorce initiated by her, north of 70%. Probability that divorce leaves you financially crippled and seeing your own kids 4 days a month, uncomfortably high. Probability that one argument recorded on her phone gets you arrested, even if you never laid a hand on her, higher than most men want to admit. Then they added the non financial risks: false accusation risk, real; career ending, jail time; registry for life risk, real. The Mike Pence rule went from punchline to survival manual overnight. Men started refusing to mentor women at work. They stopped closing the door for one on one meetings. They stopped replying to late night Slack messages. Promotion pipelines for women dried up, not because of sexism, but because no man wanted to be alone in a room with a potential landmine. The data rolled in like an avalanche. Surveys started showing 30, 40, 50% of men under 35 have completely given up on dating, not taking a break, not focusing on the gym, given up permanently. Passports stacked, gym memberships paid, crypto wallets fat, PlayStations humming, and zero interest in ever letting a woman close enough to destroy what they've built. Japan called it herbivore men 20 years ago. We laughed. Northern Europe watched their birth rates crater and blamed video games. We laughed. Then it hit America, Canada, Australia, the UK, all at the same time, like a synchronized global wake up alarm that nobody in power wanted to hear. And now, in late 2025, women are finally noticing the silence. They log into Hinge and Bumble, and it feels like a digital graveyard. The same 12 Chads they swiped left on 5 years ago are still there, now jaded and running game on 19-year-olds. Everyone else, gone. Deleted accounts. Profiles set to hidden. Men who make 150,000 plus, live 6 days a week, own their homes outright. The exact men women were told would wait forever are nowhere to be found. Bars on Friday nights, groups of guys laughing, buying rounds for each other, zero approaches. Weddings, the groom's side packed, the bride's side echoing with plus ones and gay friends because half the invited women couldn't find a date who wasn't married already. Corporate happy hours, women standing in circles complaining that men don't approach anymore, while the men stand on the other side of the room discussing stocks, real estate, and the best new steakhouse in town, perfectly content. Universities, female enrollment now pushing 70% in many Western countries because young men looked at the price tag, looked at the anti male environment, looked at the job market, and said, nah, I'll learn to code or weld or trade crypto from my bedroom and keep every dollar. And the most devastating part, the part that keeps feminist commentators up at night, is that these men are not miserable. They're not crying into pillows or jerking off in depression. They're happier than they've ever been. Depression rates among young men are dropping for the first time in decades. Suicide rates are flattening. Gym memberships are through the roof. Male friendship circles are deeper and stronger than they've been since the 1950s. Men are traveling, cheap flights to Thailand, Colombia, Poland, places where women still smile when a man says hello, and nobody calls the police if you hold hands on the first date. Back home, these men are building fortresses, not just financial fortresses, although the savings rates among single men in their 20s and 30s are now dwarfing anything women in the same age group can manage, but emotional fortresses, mental fortresses, physical fortresses. Apartments with 70-inch TVs, fridges full of ribeyes, walk-in closets full of tailored clothes they bought for themselves, not to impress some girl who will leave the minute a richer guy DMs her. They wake up every morning owning their time, their money, their peace of mind, and their future. And the best part, nobody can take it away. No surprise pregnancy. No, our body, my choice, but your wallet, my choice. No walking into your own home like you're entering a courtroom where you're guilty until proven innocent. No coming home after a 14-hour day to a sulking partner who hasn't left the couch, but somehow the entire relationship is your fault. Just peace. Sweet, glorious, non negotiable peace. Now, let me tell you what happens when enough men reach this point at scale, because we're watching it unfold in real time. Society starts to crack in ways nobody predicted. Who do you think pays the majority of taxes that fund the welfare state so many modern women rely on? Single men with no dependents. Who do you think keeps the lights on, the roads paved, the tech running, the military staffed? Men who now have zero incentive to work 80-hour weeks to impress a woman who will never appreciate it anyway. Productivity among young men is still high, but it's redirected. They work just enough to stack money, then they check out. They trade crypto at 2 a.m. They day trade options. They build side businesses that run on autopilot. They max out Roth IRAs and brokerage accounts and laugh when HR sends out emails about closing the gender pay gap because they know the game is already over. Women, meanwhile, are hitting what they're now calling the wall at warp speed. Not just the biological wall, although fertility clinics are making bank and egg freezing companies are some of the few growth stocks left, but the social wall, the attention wall, the validation wall. The likes are drying up. The orbiters are aging out or waking up. The bad boys they chased in their 20s are either married to younger women or in prison or still chasing younger women. The nice guys they friend zoned are now making $300,000 a year, working remotely from Bali, and wouldn't cross the street to spit on them if they were on fire. And the panic is setting in. You see it in the TikToks, 34-year-old women with ring light tears screaming, "Where are all the good men?" While their comment sections fill with guys posting fishing emojis and laughing. You see it in the articles, the rise of lonely women, while male loneliness statistics improve for the first time in a generation. You see it in the birth rates, countries like South Korea now at 0.72 children per woman and falling with no bottom in sight. You see it every time a woman posts, "I make six figures, I'm fit, I'm kind. Why am I single?" And the top comment is, "Because you spent your 20s treating men like dirt. And now the men who survived you want nothing to do with damaged goods." Harsh? Yes. True? Also, yes. And the harshest truth of all is this: men don't need to announce the walkaway. They don't need to protest or scream or burn anything down. They just leave quietly one by one until one day women look up and the room is empty. No more providers lining up to pay the bills. No more protectors willing to take a bullet. No more builders eager to sacrifice their youth for a family that will be weaponized against them in court. No more simps funding OnlyFans and Uber Eats and therapy sessions. Just silence and cats. A lot of cats. We're only 5 years into this mass exodus, brothers. 5 years. And the cracks are already showing in the foundation of the entire system that was built on the assumption that men would never stop showing up. Give it another 10 and give it another 20. By 2045, the phrase strong, independent woman won't be a flex anymore. It'll be a warning label because the men didn't die. They just stopped caring. And there is no recovery from that. We're about to go all in on family court, paternity fraud, the education system, the military draft hypocrisy, and exactly why even the good women are going to pay the price for the actions of the worst ones. Buckle up. Let's pull the curtain all the way back now, because what I'm about to lay out for you is the part nobody in mainstream media will touch with a 10-foot pole. Not CNN, not Fox, not the BBC, not your favorite blue check feminist on Substack. They can't. Because once you see this next layer, The entire narrative of empowerment and equality collapses like the house of cards it always was. We're going to walk step by step through the four institutions that turned the relationship between men and women into a one sided war zone: family court, the education system, the criminal justice system, as it relates to domestic accusations, and the military conscription hypocrisy that still hangs over every young man's head like a guillotine. And when we're done, you'll understand why even the so called good women, the quiet ones, the traditional ones, the ones who swear up and down they're not like the rest, are going to live with the fallout for the rest of their lives. First stop, family court. Imagine you're a man who played the game exactly the way society told you to. You met a nice girl in your mid 20s. You dated for 3 years. You got the ring, the big wedding, the house with the white picket fence. You worked 60, 70 hours a week while she worked part time or not at all. You paid for the IVF when natural conception didn't happen. You changed diapers. You coached Little League. You were there for every birthday and every Christmas morning. Then one day, you come home and she's sitting at the kitchen table with a manila folder and a look on her face you've never seen before. She says the words, "I'm not happy anymore. I love you, but I'm not in love with you." You think it's a rough patch. You suggest counseling. She says she's already been alone for 6 months without telling you. 3 weeks later, you're standing in a courthouse hallway while her attorney, the most expensive shark in the county, explains that you're going to be paying her 68% of your gross income for the next 14 years. Not net, gross, before taxes. You get to see your children 4 nights a month, and if you're 5 minutes late dropping them off, you're in contempt. If she decides to move 400 miles away for a fresh start, the judge will probably approve it, and you'll get to FaceTime your own kids on Wednesdays and every other weekend that she feels like honoring. If you think I'm exaggerating, I'm not. In the United States alone, women initiate roughly 80% of divorces. When there are children involved and the man makes more money, which is still the overwhelming majority of cases, he will lose primary custody 87% of the time, not because he's unfit, not because he's abusive, but because the tender years doctrine never really died. It just put on a new dress and called itself the best interest of the child. Translation: children belong with their mothers, and fathers are walking ATMs who get visitation rights if they behave. Child support orders are calculated on gross income in most states. Miss one payment, even if you lost your job through no fault of your own, and you're a felon driver's license suspended, passport revoked, wages garnished, bank accounts frozen, jail time if you fall too far behind. And if you do go to jail, guess what? The arrears keep piling up while you're locked up, plus interest. Alimony, still a thing in many states. Lifetime alimony in some. You can be paying your ex-wife more per month than your mortgage while she lives with her new boyfriend who pays exactly zero because he's not legally obligated. And the kicker? Paternity fraud. Up to 30% of men in some studies are raising children they believe are biologically theirs that are not. 30%. That's 1 in 3. She sleeps with the personal trainer, the ex, the co-worker, gets pregnant and decides you're the safe bet. You sign the birth certificate in good faith, legally, biologically, emotionally. You are now that child's father forever. You will pay for that child's diapers, braces, college, and wedding even after a DNA test proves you were lied to. From day one, courts in most Western countries will not let you off the hook. It's in the child's best interest to maintain stability. Translation: you got scammed. Sucker, keep paying. Men looked at the system and did the math. They watched their own fathers get destroyed. They watched their brothers lose their homes. They watched their best friends contemplate suicide because they weren't allowed to see their own children without supervision. And they said, never again. Marriage rates have collapsed to the lowest levels ever recorded in the United States. In 1970, 80% of men aged 30 were married. Today, under 50%, and it's not slowing down. It's accelerating. Next, the education system. Boys are now failing at every single stage from kindergarten through graduate school. Girls outnumber boys in college admissions 60 to 40 in most Western countries, and the gap is widening every year. Boys are diagnosed with ADHD at 4 times the rate of girls and medicated into zombies. They're suspended more, expelled more, disciplined more for the exact same behaviors that girls are praised for. Leadership in her, disruption in him. The curriculum has been systematically stripped of everything that keeps male brains engaged: competition, physical movement, hands-on projects, recess replaced with collaborative circle time, emotional check-ins, and endless essays about feelings. Teachers, 80% female, openly admit they find little boys exhausting. Zero tolerance policies mean a 6-year-old who points a finger gun gets suspended for threatening behavior. The result? Boys drop out, not just of school, of society. They retreat to video games and Discord servers and YouTube because at least nobody is telling them their very existence is toxic. And when they do graduate, they enter a job market where HR departments are 75% female, and DEI initiatives mean straight white men are at the bottom of the hiring list. Men looked at 12 to 20 years of being told they're defective for being male and said, why bother? Trade schools are booming, coding boot camps are packed, crypto Discord groups are teaching 19-year-olds how to make 6 figures without ever stepping foot on a campus that hates them. And the women who spent $200,000 on gender studies degrees are now wondering why the plumber who fixes their toilet won't call them back for a second date. Third, the criminal justice weaponization. One phone call, that's all it takes now. She calls 911 and says the magic words, I'm scared for my safety. You don't have to hit her. You don't have to threaten her. You just have to be a man in the vicinity of a woman who's decided she's done with you. Police show up. Mandatory arrest laws in most states mean you're going in cuffs. Even if she recants the next day, even if there's body cam footage proving you did nothing wrong, the arrest record is permanent. Good luck getting a job that requires a background check. Good luck owning a firearm ever again. Restraining orders are handed out like candy. File one, and you're evicted from your own home that very night. No evidence required, just her signature on a form. And if you violate it, even accidentally, even if she invites you over, you're going to jail. Duluth Model Domestic Violence Training teaches police and judges that men are always the primary aggressor. Mutual arguments? Doesn't matter. She gets the kids, the house, the victim status. You get the criminal record. Men watch this happen to Johnny Depp on a global stage. A man who had literal audio of his wife admitting she hit him, who had photos of his severed finger, who was still called an abuser by the media for years. And they realized even billions of dollars can't protect you anymore. So they stopped dating altogether, stopped cohabitating, stopped letting women sleep over, stopped taking the risk. And finally, the hypocrisy that should enrage every single man still paying tax: selective service. In the United States, every male citizen and resident alien age 18 to 25 must register for the draft. Failure to do so is a felony. Women, exempt, always have been. We are the only major Western country that still requires men, and only men, to sign up to die in war. And while feminists scream about equality, not one single major women's organization has ever demanded that women be included in the draft, not one. Men looked at that and said, You want me to die for a country that teaches boys they're toxic from age 5, that will bankrupt me if I get married, that will jail me on her word alone, that will take my children and call me a deadbeat if I can't pay 68% of my income? And you still expect me to register to be cannon fodder? Hell no. The walkaway isn't just from women, it's from the entire system that demands everything from men and gives nothing back but punishment. And here's the part that's going to hurt some feelings: there are no good women exceptions anymore, because even the sweet church girl, the quiet traditional one, the one who says, I'm not like that, she still benefits from every single one of these systems. She can still destroy you with one phone call. She can still take your kids and your house and your future. She can still hit you and call the police and watch you get arrested while she cries victim. The risk isn't in her intentions. The risk is in the system that gives her unilateral nuclear weapons and tells her it's empowerment. Men aren't blaming individual women anymore. They're blaming the game itself. And they've stopped playing. We're at the point now where women in their late 20s and early 30s are openly panicking on social media. They're lowering their standards to the floor. I just want a guy who has a job and doesn't live in his mom's basement. And still coming up empty, they're freezing their eggs. They're considering sperm donors. They're adopting dogs and calling them fur babies while pretending they're fulfilled. And the men? The men are thriving. They're buying land in the countryside, building cabins, stacking Bitcoin, lifting weights, traveling the world, deepening male friendships that last a lifetime instead of chasing female approval that evaporates the moment a better option texts her. They're finally, for the first time in their lives, putting themselves first, and there is no anger left, just indifference. Cold, calm, unbreakable indifference. That's the part women can't stand the most. They were prepared for rage. They were prepared for protest, for screaming, for pushback. They weren't prepared for silence. They weren't prepared for men to simply disappear. But that's exactly what's happening, one by one, day by day. Until one day, very soon, the only men left in the dating pool will be the ones nobody actually wants: the broke, the broken, the bitter, the basement dwellers who never woke up, and the high value men, the ones women were told would wait forever. They'll be on a beach in Thailand, or a mountaintop in Colorado, or a high rise in Dubai, living lives of complete peace and freedom, untouchable, unbothered, and gone. Now we're going to talk about the macro level collapse that's already locked in, the one that no amount of government incentives, no tax breaks for mothers, no please come back articles in the Atlantic can stop. Because when men walk away at scale, the entire civilization that was built on their backs starts to wobble, then crack, then fall. And we're not talking about some distant dystopia in 2070. We're talking about the next 10 to 15 years. By 2040, at the latest, every Western country is going to look like a gender swapped version of those abandoned mining towns you see in old Western movies, except instead of men who left to chase gold, it's men who left to chase peace. Start with the economy. Who do you think consumes the majority of discretionary spending that keeps the machine humming? Single women in their 20s and 30s spending money they didn't earn on brunch, nails, travel, and OnlyFans subscriptions? Or married men with 2 kids and a mortgage who are forced to hand over 40 to 60% of their income before they even see it? Exactly. The average single man in 2025 spends about 35 to 40% of his income on himself after taxes and basics. The average married man with children spends less than 10% on himself. The rest goes to his wife, his kids, her lifestyle, the private schools, the dance lessons, the Disney vacations, the bigger house he doesn't want, but she needs for the aesthetic. Now multiply that by millions of men who have looked at the deal and said, no thanks. Retail is already bleeding. Luxury handbags, high-end cosmetics, fast fashion, all the industries that boomed on the back of Treat yourself culture and husband funded lifestyles are quietly imploding. Department stores are closing faster than they did during the pandemic. Wedding industry revenue has dropped 40% in real terms since 2019. Jewelry companies are pivoting to self love rings because nobody's buying engagement diamonds anymore. Real estate, forget it. The starter home, 3 bedroom suburban house that every couple used to fight over, prices are stagnant or falling in most Western countries outside the ultra luxury bracket because there's no longer a steady stream of married men with dual incomes and government backed mortgages bidding them up. Young men aren't buying. They're renting small apartments downtown or in man cave friendly warehouse conversions, or they're buying raw land in the exurbs and building off grid with cash, no mortgage, no wife, no problem. And the government knows it. That's why you're starting to see panicked headlines about falling home ownership among young people. They'll never say it's falling almost entirely among men who refuse to get married and buy the overpriced box to keep a woman happy. They'll blame interest rates or avocado toast or whatever nonsense lets them avoid the real conversation. Pension systems and social security are next. These programs were designed on the assumption of a pyramid, lots of young workers paying in, fewer old people taking out. But when men opt out of fatherhood at scale, the base of the pyramid collapses. South Korea is already there. Their fertility rate is 0.72 and still falling. That means for every 100 people retiring in 2050, there will be fewer than 30 workers paying into the system. Japan's lost 30 years will look like a golden age compared to what's coming. Governments are trying everything: tax credits for babies, free IVF, paid maternity leave for 3 years. Hungary's paying women to have 4 kids and never pay income tax again. None of it is working because the missing piece isn't money. It's men who are willing to sign up for 18 to 25 years of financial servitude with a 50% plus chance of total destruction. And when those pensions collapse, guess who's going to be hit hardest? Single women in retirement. The ones who spent their working years on careers that paid less because they chose fulfillment over income, who never built real wealth because they assumed a man would show up eventually, who now face old age alone with no children to care for them and a government that can't afford to keep the lights on, let alone send checks. Military recruitment is already a 5 alarm fire. The US Army missed its recruiting goals by 25% in 2023, 15% in 2024, and projections for 2025 are even worse. The Navy, Air Force, Marines, all bleeding young men. Why would a man sign up to die for a country that calls him toxic from kindergarten, that will draft him and only him, that will throw him in prison on a woman's word, that will take his future children if he ever has any? They're lowering standards so fast it's comical. Waiving tattoos, lowering ASVAB scores, accepting recruits with asthma, ADHD, felony convictions. They're talking about bringing back the draft, and every young man I know is openly saying, let them try. Canada is facing the same crisis. The UK can't crew its new aircraft carriers. Australia's Defence Force is begging for recruits with signing bonuses that would have been unthinkable 10 years ago. And when, not if, the next major conflict kicks off, the West is going to learn the hard way what happens when you spend 30 years telling half your population they're the enemy. Then there's the coming sperm shortage. You think I'm joking? I'm not. Sperm banks in the US, UK, Denmark, everywhere are running dry. Not because men aren't physically capable, because men have looked at the legal landscape and said, hell no, I'm not donating genetic material that can be used to force me to pay child support for a kid I never meet. In most Western countries, sperm donors have zero legal protection. A woman can use your donation, have a child, then come after you for support years later if she decides she wants more money. Courts have ruled over and over again that contracts don't matter. The best interest of the child trumps everything. Result, donations have plummeted 40 to 60% in the last decade. Clinics are importing sperm from Eastern Europe and Africa because local men won't touch it. Single women and lesbian couples who planned their whole lives around, I'll just use a donor when I'm ready, are now facing wait lists measured in years and prices that have tripled. Artificial wombs are coming faster than anyone admits. Ecto life concept videos are already out there, and the tech is maybe 10 to 15 years away. When that happens, the entire biological argument for needing women collapses overnight. Men will be able to have children without ever involving a woman at all. Genetically theirs, carried in a pod, raised by them, or by surrogates in countries that still allow it. Sex robots and VR porn are already good enough that millions of men have checked out of the sexual marketplace entirely. In another 10 years, they'll be indistinguishable from the real thing. No drama, no risk, no false accusations, no headache excuses, just on-demand pleasure that doesn't talk back or call HR. And women will be left holding the bag. And the same women who spent their 20s and 30s saying, I don't need a man, are going to wake up at 45, alone, childless, with a cat that hates them and a government that's broke, in a society that no longer has enough young men to keep the power on or the streets safe. They'll scream about injustice. They'll demand the government do something. They'll write think pieces about how men owe them companionship, protection, provision, and the men will be on the other side of the world or in their self-built compounds or in virtual realities that make the real world look like a prison, untouchable, unreachable, free. This is the future feminists fought for. This is the equality they demanded. Be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. And when that day comes, when the last high-value man deletes his dating apps for good, when the last marriage license goes unsigned, when the last man looks at the burning circus and says, not my monkeys, not my circus, and closes the door, there will be no one left to blame but the mirror. We're not hoping for this collapse. We're not cheering for it. We're just watching it happen in real time. Because every warning was ignored, every olive branch was spit on, every attempt at dialogue was called misogyny. Men offered partnership, society answered with punishment. Men offered provision, society answered with plunder. Men offered protection, society answered with prosecution. So men did the only rational thing left. They withdrew, they walked away, and they're never coming back. Not for tears, not for guilt trips, not for government bribes, not for anything. The age of male sacrifice is over. The age of male peace has begun. And the women who spent decades celebrating their independence are about to learn the hardest lesson of all. Freedom for women was always funded by the unfreedom of men. Remove that foundation, and the whole structure comes crashing down. That crash is coming. You can hear it in the silence where men used to be. You can see it in the empty bars, the empty churches, the empty delivery rooms. You can feel it in the air. A cold, quiet, unstoppable shift. All roads lead to MWA. All paths end in peace for men and consequences for everyone else. So tell me in the comments, what did you think about all this? Do you agree that we've passed the point of no return? Are you seeing this play out in your own city, your own friend group, your own family? Drop your thoughts below. No filter, because this is one of the last places left where men can still speak freely. Like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.